There are 107 films that Stan and Ollie starred in together. How many did you two get through, and did you make a nice little movie night of it and watch it together? Watch them together?
We did that a few times, yeah.
We watched some stuff together, which, yes, we did, down at my place down in Sussex. And but I can't remember how many we watched. I watched some on my own, watched some on YouTube, a whole bunch of stuff. But the better stuff, I didn't bother watching some of the lesser achievements, if you like, or non-achievements later on. But yeah, all the classics I sort of revisited. I knew a lot of them anyway.
And was it while you were watching them, did you think like, oh, it's a big task we're taking on here?
Yeah,
of course. I mean, their work is often perfect. So beautifully and in a nonchalant way. It's just executed in this effortless way. So yes, of course, every time you watch their work, you think, wow, we've got our work cut out for us. However, this film is not a recreation of Laurel and Hardy. We're not trying to redo one of their films. We try to evoke their memory, and we try to show enough of what they did for a living to help you understand what their lives were like. But the real focus of our film is the emotional story between the two of them. And that's something that both Steve and I think felt qualified to do. It's an area that no one can really say. No one can say that's right or wrong. Yeah. It's just an exploration of a relationship.
You learn as much as you can, what's available to learn, and you get the best tools around you, and then you make an educated guess with your performance, and also you collaborate. So you listen to each other, and you meet somewhere in the middle, and arrive at this sort of this piece of artistic conjecture.
It's quite interesting that comedians or comedic actors tend to have very fascinating lives, and they're the point of a lot of biopics these days. When are your biopics going to come out, John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan? How do you feel if that, somewhere down the line, someone made a biopic about your lives?
Well, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that. I don't think I would like it very much, because I'm sure I would bound to see all the mistakes or the shortcomings in it, because when you live a life, you know every aspect of it.
I know. It would be really irritating. It would be like, oh come. I mean, 'cause the thing is, it's funny. When I've written stuff about real people, and you do take artistic liberties to try and make a story make sense, but I'm sure it would be excruciating. I hope I'm not here when they do that, if they do that.
And final question: did you two know each other before you started this process?
Very briefly, just socially a couple of times.
A little bit.
What piece of work were you both a fan of each other's before you joined up and teamed up to do this film?
I was a big fan of. I liked the fact that John was able to. There's not many people who can do this. Make a tonal judgment. So he would do these sort of broad comedies that were still smart, but broad comedies with Adam McKay, and the work he did with Paul Thomas Anderson was always, that it showed that he was able to do understand the sort of rules of comedy, but also understand and how to be truthful. And you often get people who are good at one or the other, but not both. And that gave me faith in John, that he'd be able to address the comedy of Laurel and Hardy and the emotional truth, because all his work spoke to that beforehand.
I did not know Steve before this. He's virtually unknown in America, so it's wonderful that the BAFTAs have acknowledged him here. No, of course I knew Alan Partridge and the Trip films, and Steve is a real master of the craft of comedy. He's someone who really does understand kind of like the science of comedy and why something is funny and how to build a joke. So
you shouldn't pour water over someone.
It gave me a lot of confidence going in that I'd have a really strong partner in Steve. So yeah, I suppose when I really got to know you was through the Trip movies, because they're so revealing. It almost seems like you're spending time with Steve and Rob themselves, even though they're somewhat caricatures of themselves.